You know, I think, you know, I mentioned that mindset was the biggie. And to my mind, the most important part was something we talked about in Power Hour this morning, which is having an attitude of contribution. I never have thought of myself as being a salesperson. And, you know, some people will call realtors salespeople. We aren't. You know, you can't sell a house to somebody that doesn't want a house, or that house. So what you really become is someone that figures out what it is they need and then find them what they need. And so your most important skill in this business is going to be asking questions and listening. I think good listeners are the best realtors because they really, you know, they get the information that they need in order to make the thing happen. And if you're like doing lead generation, if you can come from contribution, let's say we're going to talk a lot about lead gen the next 3 days. But if you're calling up somebody that you know, and you're feeling, you know, to let them know that you're a realtor now and you can help them out, it's really important that you don't feel like you're selling your friends, because that makes people really uncomfortable. But if you go, you know, I'm somebody that can take really good care of you or your friends because I've been trained really well. I've got this huge circle of people here at Keller Williams that can help me. I've got a coach that'll hold my hand. You know, whatever, you know, you can then go to them and say, I can do this better, and keep them from having a nightmare. So if you look at it from that aspect, you're not selling anybody. You're just saying, I'm here to help. And if you start off with folks that know you and love you already, of course they're going to want to help you. And so that's a really big thing. When you get out, you know, whether, let's say you're, at some point you're knocking on doors in a community and introducing yourself, if you just go up and say, hi, I'm a new realtor and I live in the neighborhood, it's like you're gonna go, well, whatever. But if you go with a market report that shows, you know, the houses that sold in the last 90 days and what the average, you know, sales price was and what the price per square foot was and how long they're on the market, they're gonna go, wow. Because what people really want to know is what their house is worth. And so again, coming from contribution makes it into something that's real comfortable because you're helping, okay? What I do in this course, just so you know, Jade, is I kind of go back and forth. We roughly follow the book, but I'll be doing all kinds of stories and bopping around. I think that, you know, one of the things I really, really believe in, this is what I learned in college, energy begets energy. So what do you think that means?
Well, isn't that like what they say on the commercial there? Once you get active, you stay active.
Yeah.
And once you sit on the couch, you kind of stay there.
That's what
That's what that means, I think, to me.
Okay.
I can see that, you know, if you're out there going,
yeah,
you're going to want to keep going.
Absolutely.
You go out there with positive energy, you'll get positive energy back.
You get back what you give, don't you?
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Well, and there's a third thing that it means. When you're talking to somebody, and you're all fired up, and you're passionate, you know, about your business, about, you know, what you can do for people, you can get people excited just by that very energy, enthusiasm, passion, and so that can infect people to the point of where they get excited too. So we've got 3 definitions of that, but I think they're hugely important. And you're right. I get out of bed every morning, I go, it's gonna be a great day. And do not ever, you know, I don't care if I hurt all over or, you know, which I do a lot of mornings, and but it's like, you know, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna have fun at what I do, I'm gonna be good at what I do, and I'm gonna have a great day. And if you roll out of bed and go, you know, it's like you're a slug, you're not gonna have a great day. And if you're pissed off or something, all the worse. So let's jump into just kind of our little introduction. I want to start talking first about the 6 personal perspectives, and before I do that, I wanna show you where your manual's at. And, so we're gonna just make this window small for a minute. If you will go, there's a site that's called kw.onelogin.com. That is basically a single sign-on site for all things KW. So you don't have to keep putting your password and into the various sites. So if you come in here, one of the places we've got in there is a career growth initiative where we put your goals in. Dotloop. Dotloop is the utility that we use to do all of our paperwork. And over here is the KW intranet, and that's where we're gonna go. So this is our back office, and there's all kinds of stuff that you have access to from here. I want to point out the menu at the very, very top, here, the menu items. If you go over to number 3 and click on education, that's going to take you into what's called KW Connect. And that's where all things educational come out of. And if you see this little magnifying glass up here, if you click on that, and if you type in the word Ignite, I-G-N-I-T-E, say search, and then you scroll down, and right here is Ignite. And what I want you to do is go to course materials, and then scroll on down, and the student resources is where you want to go. And that's going to bring up the 12 power sessions for Ignite. And in here, you've got a few things. You know, first of all, you've got a mission. The mission's got videos and some things to watch before you come to class. And what I do want you to do is do your reading before you come to class too. Look for the Power Session Manual US. Each one of these segments has one of those, and if you click on that, it's going to bring you up exactly what we're looking at right now. And I would like you to do is to read the material before you come into class, and that way, you know, we can basically go beyond what the material is in the book and talk real stuff. I'm going to take you into the mission 1. Now there's some stuff in here that you know may or may not be applicable. You know, all of your stuff up here. That's what Angie's helping you out with. You'll need a calendar. You know, I use a digital one. You can use a book, whatever you feel good about. You want to get your business cards ordered as quick as you can, and get yourself a badge. You might want to get yourself, you know, some like KW T-shirts or something. So when you're out and about, you don't have to wear your badge if you're just, you know, like walking at the beach. I used to do Turtle Patrol out in Palm Island. I carried business cards. Believe it or not, I talked real estate doing Turtle Patrol, especially the days when we were having hatches and we'd be digging the eggs out to count the hatch, and there'd be somebody in there still that hadn't gotten away. And like, oh yay, and people knew that we'd find them, so they were like gathering around, and we just ended up having conversations. The place that I want you to is come down here towards the bottom. There's a bunch of videos. So just take a quick thing. Here's some little tips. Get to know your market center. There's going to be a new agent orientation. Angie's going to be your technology guru. And you've got career growth initiative. That's something you and I are going to do, and it's got that kind of stuff in it.
No, it's Blake, right?
Yes.
Blake, are you going to the board on the 10th and 11th? Will you be there?
I'm going on the 11th.
On the 11th.
Yes.
Okay, I'll be there all day on the 10th.
What's going on the 10th?
That's the MLS.
Oh, I'm
Probably
gonna
already
do
done
that.
You didn't do it
I go
online?
tomorrow to get what you did today.
Yeah.
But I'll do that probably online, and
Okay.
You can do all 3 classes online.
Yeah, well, she said just to sign up for them, so I guess I do a lot of stuff online.
Oh, just do it
So,
online then.
it's easy?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And then what you can do is when we're done with our first month, which is when I'm gonna really be training you intensely,
Yes.
if you're not feeling really confident, go back and take the classes.
Yeah, she said you could take them as much as you want, so, okay, that's good to know. I didn't really know that this initial one I could do online.
Yeah.
I knew it was there, but she didn't really give me that option, so that's cool.
There are 3 classes. There's MLS Basic, which is an overview. There's Ad Edit, and you can't enter a listing until you've taken that one. And then the other one is Compliance. That covers all the ways you can get into trouble with the MLS and be fined. Yay.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot.
I know.
There are a lot of,
There's rules.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I've got this list, I'm sure you already have it from Angie, of all the places, I mean, woo, it's a big list.
There's a lot.
Oh, so did you do you've done your technical stuff with Angie?
I've signed up through Angie or gotten all that stuff, but I didn't get a list.
The Scott Leroy,
Yeah,
you
I've
got
got-
that?
yeah.
Yeah, that was he gave me the initial list. You'll get a list tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
You'll get a big list tomorrow too, so there's a lot of places to go. So, okay, good, that's good to know.
So, we're gonna come back to that word mindset again and again and again. Have either of you ever read The Secret?
I started.
The concepts in there I've seen in so many other writings, and what it's really about is what you give out to the world, you get back. And so, you know, if you've got a strong mindset, and if it's driven, that mindset is driven by your big why, that thing that you really, and your big why, if it's not driving you, we haven't dug down deep enough into what it is. That's what's gonna take you through stuff you don't like, because you go, this is really important to me. And so here, you know, you've got three things that really come together. Your attitudes, I mean, this is stuff that, you know, we've got those, you know, when we're kids. And, you know, work ethic and all of that, and your approach to life, they all come together. And that's, all high achievers share those attributes. So within those, there's 6 personal perspectives that we're gonna talk about. The first one is committing to mastery. Mastery, I usually go like this. I don't know why I think it's like a house, but you know, I think most of us are lifelong learners, and if you're gonna find here at the beginning, sometimes you're gonna get overwhelmed because there's so much knowledge, so much stuff being poured into you. And when you start, you know, feeling like you're gonna blow up, just take a breath. just know you can bite it one bite at a time. You can come back and redo classes if you know, think that you really need to go at it again. I've had people that have been, you know, 3-4 year agents that have come in and done Ignite again, just to kind of get their, you know, perspective back on track. So that's just, you know, basically you want to commit to having a skill set to be the best realtor, to be a total professional, because you're dealing with people's biggest investment in their lives for the most part. And there's a lot of emotion in there, there's some fears, there's a lot. Sometimes you're a shrink. And so, you know, part of what you can do is, if your skill set is there, that's gonna calm them right down, because they go, he or she knows what they're doing. And that's how you know, to me, you wanna be the best. And they deserve that. So when you commit to mastery, you know what your goals are, you know your strengths and the weaknesses, and you're gonna work with those strengths, and you're gonna build on those weaknesses to create the habits that you need to reach goals. So what we're gonna be doing in Ignite is we're gonna be acquiring a lot of skills and developing habits to be successful. And to be honest, you're gonna do that throughout the rest of your career. I'm 13 years a Realtor, I don't know everything. You know, you learn a lot of this business as you go. You know, your textbook knowledge will take you this far, but as you get into things, you know, you'll run into something and it's a Saturday, you know, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and go, I don't know what to do. You call Pat. and there we go, we'll get you fixed up. The 80-20 principle is pretty common, and usually it's, you know, 20% of the people do 80% of the business. That's one way of looking at the 80-20 rule. But the way I want you to look at it is what you do with your time. 80% of it is tasks, 20% of it drives income. And so that income generating is really important, and you need to focus on that 20 or you won't have the 80. And you need to do it consistently. Consistency is the next really big thing. So let's just put consistency down here. I think that separates a really good agent from one not so good. You know, some people will start trying something, go, oh, here's a great idea. And they'll do it for a month and go, oh, that doesn't work. Well, you know what? Maybe 6 months you'll know it doesn't work. I mean, at the end of each year, you wanna look over the things that you've spent money on during the year, and I'm not gonna recommend you spend hardly any money right now. Right, in fact, you're gonna be bombarded with phone calls. I'm just gonna give you fair warning. Everybody wants to sell you something, and just say no. If they tell you that they can put you on page 1 of Google, just laugh.
Right.
There's just you know, a plethora of ways that they can come up with, and I found that out the hard way. I spent money on a lot of stuff I shouldn't have, because a lot of I had a sales manager that we'd have our every other week sales meeting, and she was always bringing somebody in to sell us something. That was an easy meeting. She didn't have to do the heavy lifting. He or she did, and so we all thought that she thought these were things we needed, not necessarily so. Learned that. So your 20%, that's what's going to make you money, and that's going to be lead generation. Part of this, and this is something I really learned. We want to move you from E, which is entrepreneurial, to P, which is purposeful. And there's a chart in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book that y'all got. It's called, which I'm just going to call that the red book. Did you get a red book?
I have an electronic copy.
Okay, good. There's so here's E, entrepreneurial, and then up here is P. So E is kind of your natural level. That's your natural talent. So, for example, during the 6 years that I managed the Coldwell Banker office, no one told me how to do my job. I just figured it out. And I did pretty good. But you know what? I could have done a whole lot better because I already am. So when you hit your natural ceiling, then you kind of bounce off it and go, you know, because you can't grow. And so you've got this barrier. What you want to do is blast right through that to P, and that's when you take the models and the systems and, you know, all the things that this company offers, and it'll take you to the next level. For me, you know, as a coach, what I've been doing this year is traveling a lot. You know, we family reunion, that is probably the best, you know, if you have a shot at it, you know, maybe next year, go. It's gonna be in New Orleans this year, and there you know, Gary Keller, our fearless leader, he gave us the vision, and I met the state of the company from John Davis, our CEO, but more importantly, we had panels of really top agents sharing their secrets on stage. You know, and then we have breakouts, and I know I went to one breakout. It was called the secrets of top agents, and one of those, the very first one of those, is thinking big, and bigger, and bigger, and we'll get into that later on. But But this whole thing, so now after I went to coaching skills camp, I went to, career visioning, I went to spring masterminds, I sat at a table with some of the best productivity coaches across the country. You know, I just snuffed around and found out if it was really good, and I said, you got a seat left, go good. And then I just sat and listened, and it made me better. So I was able to blast through that natural level that I had, which it's amazing. I mean, it's exciting. So that's moving. That's what moving from E to P means. And essentially, in most of this world, you don't need to have the creative idea. You don't need to think things up. You want to do what others have done that worked, and that's the sharing that you're going to get out of this company and all the writings of Gary Keller. You want to make learning-based the foundation of your action plan. Along with Ignite, you know, we're starting something today at 12:30 called Shift. Markets shift all the time, and the last shift we had here was ugly, and you know the market fell off a cliff really late '06, depending on where you were in the country, up to like 2008, and Florida had been really overheated, and so when the market crashed, it went hard. Las Vegas had that problem, Arizona, California. Now, there's another shift coming, and it's already started on the West Coast. And again, those superheated markets, Seattle, San Francisco. But what happens is it kind of moves from the west to the east. We're still affordable here, but we're getting marginally so. And when you reach the point that you know, the affordability is, that the, you know, the median salary can't afford those houses, boom, you got a shift. And it usually kind of happens like that. So, knowing that it's coming, we're going to teach you how to deal with it. And what's kind of fun is that, you know, when I got into business, the market was, there was no market. But there's business, always. And so what we're going to learn in Shift is how to take it to the next level. For you, learning now, you're just like me. You're coming in with the market. Still, it's going to be not that. Oh, that one was bad. This one, no one expects it to be like that. So, limiting beliefs. We all have them. That's that little Jiminy Cricket who whispers in your ear that you can't do something. Oh, I can't do that. I would never do that. I don't know how to do that. I'd fail if I did that. And it all goes back to stuff, you know, when we're born, we're just full of it. You know, we try anything, do anything. We fall down, oh, well, you know, we cry for a minute, mommy, kiss our knees, and up back we go again. But somewhere along the line, we learn how to be really cautious and, no. And so we have these things in us, and we all do. Your high achievers work through them, and they use discipline to get them through to when they can build a habit. And the funny thing that happens is once you have a habit, you start doing things that here you thought were really uncomfortable, actually turn into something that's kind of fun, like public speaking.
I don't know about fun, but
no, you know,
you can help me with that.
I had my first public speaking horrible thing when I was 25. And I was a loan executive for the United Way in Tacoma, Washington, and I was a banker then, and they volunteered me, and it's like, oh yay. But it was easy. All I had to do was line up these launches for their United Way campaign. We had a speakers bureau, and so my job was just to organize the rallies, and then the speaker would come in and do them. My biggest account was Sears downtown, and it was a Saturday rally, went real good, and then I find out on Monday the maintenance and service guys weren't there, and they said, we need you to go out there tomorrow, and I went, okay. And I said, who's my speaker? And Elaine, who ran the United Way office, said, you're gonna have to do it. And I went, no. And I said, I don't do speaking. She goes, you're gonna have to. And I said, no. And she said, Pat, you know that material better than anybody. And I said, but I don't do speaking. And I said, find me a speaker. And she said, do it. And I went, wow. So I went home and I wrote my speech and I put it on, my bullets on 3x5 cards. Practiced it, I rehearsed it, and then I got in there and here's this room with about 60 guys, and I thought that there'd be like a table or something, a lectern, one of them. There was nothing. Well, I had a problem with my 3x5 cards because my hands were shaking so badly that if I held them up there, it was going to be really. So I put the cards behind my back. It was like dying of 1,000 cuts all at the same time. It was horrible. And my next one was quite a few years later. It was 1993. I was in Dallas and I was asked to be on a panel discussion. And so I thought, oh, that's okay. It's like there's 6 of us. I'm going to pass the microphone. We sit in our seat, drink our ice water. Life is good. Well, no. I found out, number one, that I was the 5th speaker. And I'd written this speech and rehearsed it. I flew in a day early to do it, and then I found out that we couldn't talk about certain things without violating the Sherman Antitrust Act. Speech went into the round file that night, and I went out and had dinner with my friends, saying, I'll have an idea in the morning. In the shower, I went, I know what I'm going to do, and it's something none of them are going to do, and so I went back to the business center, wrote, got it down to my 3 minutes. 3 minutes doesn't sound like much. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And then we're up there, and there's 600 of my colleagues in the room. That's the hardest audience to talk to. And and I'm up there with 5 the big guys in our industry, and I was this unknown little chick from Northwest Washington, Seattle, and I was pounding the ice water. My friends told me, they said, Pat, you practically drowned yourself. and then I got up to that lectern and it was like, oh my God, the microphone was going here. I was looking like that because I needed my cheaters and I was shaking like a leaf, and I had something coming out of every pore of my body, sweat, or I don't know. I mean, I was so uncomfortable. I don't remember my speech. All I remember is my intro. I did a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I was over-prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Then they kept making me speak and do more speaking and more speaking and more speaking. And you know what? Now, if I get up in front of 600 people, I have a ball.
Mm-hmm.
I love to speak. So what I did is I had to power through my bubbles. I had to power through those fears. I mean, 'cause they were there. Holy moly. And just did it and did it and did it. And then pretty soon it was like, oh, this is fun.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you take discipline, you make it into a habit, and doggone it. So it's sort of like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have these crazy things, So here's some nice limiting beliefs. I have to be an expert and know everything. I need to know everything I can to begin my business. I'm not valid yet. I call that getting ready to get ready to get ready. A lot of this business you're going to learn while you do it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have a foundation, but then your learning just keeps going. Oh, I don't think I can achieve a profit goal that will fund my life this year. So do you think you will if you think like that?
No.
Oh, because I'm in the business will come to me naturally. I don't need to devote time to lead generation. I call that a secret agent. Okay, that's a secret agent. So one of the things we're going to work on throughout all is turning those limiting beliefs into unlimiting beliefs that are going to fuel your success. Finally, you need to be accountable. Now, in coaching, you're going to be accountable to me. But who are you really gonna be accountable to? Yep. We had a really neat guy, Alex Sheen, I think was his last name, that, I was at Mega Camp in Austin, which is another big, event that we hold, and Austin's the headquarters for Keller Williams. And Alex, came up with this thing it's his little, I don't know, it's a phrase, because I said I would. And something I've learned over the years is that just having a goal is not enough. You need to have a promise to yourself that you're gonna hit that goal. So because I said I would is a promise, isn't it? So back in what took about 10 days off around Christmas and New Year's last year, and I put on quite a bit of weight the last 2 years with my husband before I booted him out. Bye-bye, Peter. You'll hear me talk about Peter every now and then. I'm very happy. He's happy. Life is good. We were toxic together. The last 12 years. First 20 were okay. And so in my misery, I just kind of kept putting on pounds. And so I decided it was really time to get hopping on it. And so I sat down and I planned, how I was going to go about do it, and I planned accountability things. I planned, I had this whole plan, but, and I wrote it and I put it into, Evernote and up on my iPad and I said, because I said I would. I made a promise and I got half of it done. So that's all good. I was the next half to do. So, I think that the, I learned, it's kind of funny. I just had this thing, because I've had my own business for years, and I just thought, we're all self-starters, and, we're all gonna do whatever we need to do, but we don't. And I hired a coach for myself for the first time in 2013, Angela Torito. And no one had ever taught me how to manage my office, as I mentioned earlier, and she did. And I needed to grow my office. I doubled it that year. It was also my year of president-elect of the board. I won my first Coldwell Banker Recruiting Award. Sorry, I shouldn't say that other company. And my president's year, I won my second one. My boss my broker had been very irritated with me that I'd accepted that position. And he said, we should have talked. And I said, why? And he says, well, everybody knows when you're president of the board, they're gonna steal all your agents away. And I just looked at him and I said, Don Randolph, I said, what in the world makes you think? I said, how long have you known me? I said, what makes you think I would do anything but do my job excellently? And he's just said, well, I'm just saying, I'm a little unhappy. That was why I hired Angela. I won a Coldwell Banker Recruiting Award that year too. And that was the end of that. So I learned a little bit of structure and accountability was good for me too. I have a coach now. Her name's Mika. Okay, so let's. And this is a part that's in this book that is kind of silly. We talked about the capper and training, and then this gets into what kind of a capper are you going to be? A prisoner, a vacationer, or the explorer? So one of the things that we do in Ignite is we do a lot of engaging. A lot of times it's interactive. So here, the prisoner doesn't engage. They just sit there and stare. Or then you have the vacationer. They're just chatting with each other. And then there's the perfect ones. Being excited, what they say in bold is how you are here is the way you are out there. I do believe in having fun, but I also think we need to work really hard because this is deadly serious business. Okay? So let's just have you all be explorers and excited and curious. Coming from curiosity is part of the whole thing of asking questions and listening. And, so I know you're both gonna be explorers. So, we talked about that mission, that's what that action reveal is. Today, we're gonna talk about your big why. We're not gonna set your monetary goal, that's something we're gonna do together. Hello? And, we want you to be accountable to that big why. We're gonna talk about using, influencing sales language, and a few ground rules. Just be present. Here it is, how you participate, and here's how you participate everywhere. That's a bold law. All these things written on the wall are bold laws. Bold's gonna be the next big thing you do after Ignite. It's something I'm gonna really encourage you to do. It's something that can take you at E to P even faster. And, I've noted agents that have cried. I know I did bold, and I'm gonna do it again. I did it last fall, and I'm gonna do it this fall. It's up like later part of October, November, early December, and it's 7 weeks, 1 day a week, and it's really intense, and it's really good. It'll just take you to another level. And it was really where I was able to work through this whole thing of starting to get my weight together. That was part of, one of the goals I set there. It took me a while to get it all organized. But anything we talk about is confidential. It's just between us chickies, and particularly so once we get in my room. That's just between us. And, I want you to be authentic, and I will be too. So, what do you think your job is? From what we've talked about.
As a realtor,
Mm-hmm.
connecting people with homes,
Okay.
or getting rid of homes.
Selling your listings, yeah.
Building relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and making customers comfortable,
Okay.
so that the rest is kind of easy.
Okay.
Making dreams come true.
Making dreams come true. Yep. Customer, that's pretty basic. I'm not quite sure why that. And your product. Let's talk about your product. What is your product?
It's not the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's you and what you're able to bring to the customer. I think that's really what you're selling, is what you can do for them.
It's service, isn't it? Exceptional service is what I think. I think that's your product. You know, I learned in my last business, I did fundraising with schools. And when I first got into the business, I was a sales rep for a company in San Diego. And I went to my first sales meeting, and the guys were telling me there was no loyalty in this business. And I said, really? I said, why? And they had all these reasons. Well, guess what? There's tons of loyalty when you give exceptional service. And Peter and I started our fundraising business of our own in 1990. And by 1995, we had 20% market share. And we got there for, I think, because of 3 things. Number one was product fundraising. We had beautiful products that were fairly priced. It was the nicest quality out there. Number 2, we provided exceptional service. And number 3, we did the right thing when something went wrong, even when it hurts, which usually means your pocketbook. And that market share came about because of retention and referral, and then getting our share of, the new ones. This business works the same way. And, one of the things, if you give somebody just an awesome experience, they're gonna work with you again. Although you're gonna have to remind them from time to time that you're alive. And that's called follow-up, which we'll get into that in a whole lot more detail. So your big why. Big why is something that you're passionate about. It's what stirs your soul, what you hope to achieve for yourself, for your family. Um, there's been some big whys over the years that have been very amazing to me, and some are about giving service, to others. Um, um, really were not big goals for them, but yet they were, because it's much like, for me, in all the years that I've been in business, I'm getting more satisfaction out of what I do right now than I have anything, because I'm doing what I absolutely love doing, which is teaching and mentoring and coaching. So every day is just like, it's not like work. And so my big why is to take you guys, and I see you as buds, and I just want to open you all to full flower. And if I can help you accomplish that, I feel that satisfaction. I've never been driven by, the fruits of my labor, although I've enjoyed them. For me, it's the journey. And so, so I know, that's for me, and I've been in a lot of different positions over the years, and so that's my passion. So you need to dig into your hearts, and we've talked about your big why, and really know what that passion is, because that's going to push you through when you're trying to do things that you don't like. So that's going to be your motivation and your inspiration, and anyone can achieve the goals that are set. Anyone, but not everyone will. I have some that just, I don't know if it's just the big why is not there, or it's just some that just tend to be more outwardly. They don't seize the responsibility, and it becomes something more external. And I have a sister like that. Well, then she spent her life, kind of blaming the world for all her trouble. I don't get many of those like that. So that's where you got to dig and find out what that passion is. We have okay, so 12 months from now, I want you to imagine your business is thriving, your life is everything you've dreamed of, your customers rave about the experience and the value that you provide, and think of you when they have a real estate need. Your family and friends are so proud of you, and are consistently referring business your way. You're helping others live their dream of owning a home because you're focused on helping them get what they desire. You're building the foundation and the momentum for your entire career, gaining relationships and experiences and the income you desire. In fact, you'll probably find you've got a lot of new best friends. You are the top agent in your market center. Maybe maybe the rookie of the year. We have that award every year. You're poised to hire your first assistant to handle your 80% while you take care of your 20. And you are on the path to building a career worth having, a business worth owning, and a life worth living. This can be the coolest business in the world. You have freedom to do whatever with it. The sky is the limit. And I think that if you really look at that and believe in that, so these are questions that I want you to really give some deep thought to. So, Blake, we talked about a big why for you. Let's share it with me.
Which one did we talk about? I can't.
Well, you wanted to have the freedom to travel and do so in a, on kind of a really nice
Yes, yeah,
high
no,
end.
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Yes, my big why is I want freedom, and I love to travel right now. My other career is a tour director, but it's traveling for other people. And I like to travel on my own, or for myself and for my family.
And he wants to spoil himself.
I do. I have a specific way I enjoy traveling, and my family makes fun of me, but I like it. I like the higher end of traveling, luxury. I don't want to go camping. I want to go glamping. So
I get that. Yeah.
And that's my big goal is to have in real estate is to have a real estate business that I can do that with. So freedom.
That's good.
You also talked about wanting to invest.
Yes. Yep. I want to own rental properties, and I don't want to. I'm not single family, but more multifamily and storage units. And they don't have to be. I'm not necessarily. I'm looking for good income producing. I'm not looking for ritzy or anything like that. But something with solid families that want to be there for a while, and things like that.
Right.
So I have a reoccurring income coming in off of those as well.
Nice. Yeah. For me, it is really going to be about having something of my own that I can control and that I can make what I want it to be. That's a big deal. I have a little eBay business, been on eBay for years, that pays my bills, but it's not very satisfying for me. For me, I want to brand. I have a brand, I have a slogan, I have those things for this business. I'm super excited. I'm excited to build something. I like to build things. I do like to help people. I've done customer service my whole life every job in one way or another. So for me, it's to have my baby. This is what I want. I have a little bit of background in real estate, the back part of it. And I love it. I've built houses, I've bought, I've sold, all of those things for myself. And different from you, I want my life simple. I want a home that I'm comfortable in, I want a cool car, and I just want to live with low debt and simple. And my husband and I are kind of just trying to work towards that goal. And I don't want a complicated life. I don't mind having a real busy career, but I don't really care about stuff. I guess that's the thing for me. I don't care about really having things. I just care about comfort and ease of life. So yeah, for me, it's a thing that will be mine to make and mold and build, and I have the ability to do that.
Awesome.
So
One of the things that looking at my big why, I'm 69 and don't look it, don't feel it, don't act it, but I am. And I really want to have myself to the point where I own everything, no debt, done, and I've always for the last golly since I've most of the last 30 years I've lived in really special places, places where people go for vacation, and this is Palm Island is my third island, and they've all shared. They were very private. I mean, mostly in the woods. I mean, right now I'm on the water, but I don't even see the water. I'm in a tree house. I'm on pilings, and I'm surrounded. My main floor, it's palm trees. There's coconut palms and cabbage palms and foxtails and royals and then when I get upstairs, I can literally lay in bed and watch birds fly by, which is you can hear the wings. So cool. And so that's, I wanna keep doing that, and that was something, you know, I could do with, you know, with Peter and now I wanna find a way to do that with myself. And I like traveling too. But mostly, I wanna golf everywhere. You know, I wanna go to the golf, go watch the Masters, you know, that would be so cool, and maybe even play that course, whoa. So these are things, you know, you really get them internalized because they're, you know, they're what you're about. They'll change, you can change your life. You know, I gotta tell you something that, I was at a 2-day session called Quantum Leap up in Tampa, and Dick Dillingham, who's a 30-year, he's a 30-year KW guy, was the instructor, and oh my God, that was not about my job, that was about me, that was about us. And at the very end, he asked for ahas. What's our big ahas from our 2 days? And I just put and I said, Dick, the big aha, and I said was a huge one, and that was when you said you can be anywhere you want in 5 years, anywhere. You just need to know where it is you want to be. You need a plan to get there. And you need to get started. And I just went, wow. So he told the story that kind of connected into that. He was he lives in the Dallas area, I believe, and he was talking to an agent, kind of a mega agent in that area that he didn't know all that well. And they were chatting at family reunion, sitting off in some seats, kind of resting. And so he asked her, you know, how much business she'd done that year, and she said 14 million. Well, let's get a better sheet here. It's dirty. It's dirty to hand here. So she said that she'd done 14 million. She had a small team, and so he asked her what her goal was for this year, and she said 17 million. I said, And he said, well, what about in 5 years? And she chuckled and said, I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. And he goes, yeah. So he said, what if in 5 years you could do 100 million in sales? And she looked at him like he had 5 heads. Just like, really? And he goes, just kind of hang in here with me. He said, so if you're going to be at 100 million in 5 years, he said, where would you need to be in 4? And she goes, well, I guess I need to be at 80 million. He goes, yeah. So if you're going to be at 80 million in 4, where would you need to be in 3? Well, that would be 60. And in 2, I would be at 40. And he said, so where would you need to be this year? She started crying. 20 million. Which is darn close to 17. You're going to hear me talk a lot about Diana Kokoska. Diana says, she says, your dream needs to be big enough that it's laughable. And, you know, the reason the gal cried is she suddenly realized she could be any place she wanted to be. And she was darn close to setting off from there. There was a guy named Craig Rieger at, I saw speaking, I don't know, about 5 years ago. And he's from the Portland area. And Craig was a he's a KW agent, and he had a small team. It was him, he had one buyer's agent, and he had an admin. And they brought in 5 to 7 listings a month, and the thing that was kind of interesting was that he decided to, he read a book that needs to be on your reading list, and that's called The One Thing, which you may or may not have already. Yeah, not yet. Let's just have you do about the first half of the red book. And so he read that, and he really just got inspired, because it just talked about having, you don't just have, an incremental goal or a stretch goal. You have a big goal. And he read this book, and he sat down with his coach and said, well, I think we gotta try this. So he decided that he wanted to get 90 listings in 90 days. So for somebody that was doing 5 to 7 a month, that's laughable. It's like, really? You're just gonna do this? And he got to 87. And what ended up happening, was that he had to have really big habits to make that happen. And they made a plan, him and his coach, laid it out, and they worked the plan, and he got within 3 of his goals. He got 87 listings.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, this whole thing. And what happened was now, I saw him interviewed, I don't know, about 6 months ago. He does not actively help people buy, sell, or invest anymore. He just runs his team. And they're doing something like 120 million a year. So this business can take you wherever you want it to go. You just have to know what it is, make your plan, work your plan, and start now. We are going to, did we do your CGI goal? No,
I wasn't an assistant yet.
no, that's right.
No,
I don't do yours,
okay, I'll do mine.
do your own. We're gonna sit down and go in and do what's called your career growth initiative goal. There's a calculator, it's really cool. You decide what you wanna make, and it tells you what you need to do, after we give it a whole bunch of information. So that's where we're gonna set out your goal, and then and then the thing that we do with your goal is we chunk it down, and monthly, weekly, so it sounds small. Because when it sounds really big, it kind of intimidates the crap out of you. And so we want to get it down to where it's doable. So we're not going to do that here in class, but I want you to think about that. And, just so you know, some of the things that I think you've been explained all about the commissions and whatnot. So I'm not going to go over that. And so what we're gonna figure out is how many transactions you're gonna need to reach that goal. And we'll go ahead and put in, this is actually 21,000, not 23. And figure out how many transactions based on, what I think the average will be.
Is this the same as the 411?
No.
Okay.
The CGI goal is, it's a tool, if you go into kw.onelogin.com, there's you've done a CGI goal, I know you have.
I didn't attend any of the Ignites initially, so I don't.
Lisa would have gone through it with you.
Debbie was here at the time, and I was
Yeah.
homeless, so I wasn't able.
Well, it's something you do every year.
Lisa must have done it.
I can show you later. Okay, so let's just bop along. Okay, so we're gonna talk about lead generation now. And this is your big job. So we start off with a funnel, get out of there. And kind of looks like this. And So the first thing you wanna do with this funnel is start filling it up with leads. And you're gonna have a lot of different ways that we're gonna talk about that will start putting people into your funnel. And then from this swirling mass of leads, you wanna be pulling appointments out of it. Appointments for listing presentations, appointments with buyers. You wanna be signing listing agreements with them and eventually putting them under contract. And then you go through all kinds of, sometimes hell, and then finally, you get paid. They close.
Through hell.
And don't come and tell me, Pat, am I the only one that gets all these weird deals? No, you're not. You learn from every deal, and you know, you've got just so many different kinds of loans, and you know, all kinds of stuff. But where you really earn your money is that contract to close part, and that's kind of like the troubleshooting section, and to my mind, if you stay on top of your timelines, and a lot of, you know, what you do with your folks, your sellers and your buyers, is help them anticipate how things are gonna go, so they'll have an expectation. And you don't promise perfection, but you do, you know, just say, you know, there's gonna be bumps along the road, but we'll deal with them. And I'll, you know, I wanna get you through this whole thing with the least amount of pain in the least amount of time. And usually from the time, you know, you're gonna have a lead funnel, I call it, and it starts filling up with leads, and you might have some people that'll be, you know, 3 years out, they're retiring, and you might have some, you know, so you're gonna have people at 1 year out, and you're gonna have people at 6 months out. You always wanna have that thing kind of cresting, so that's your pipeline, but on average, what you do today is gonna impact you in 90 days, hopefully with a closing. If you get a listing today, and it goes on and off the market, let's say it's in Northport, they're selling in, median 29 days. So if you have a cash deal, that's gonna close in 30 days, and if you've got one with a loan, 45, unless it's a USDA loan, and that might be 60 days or not. And so you just always know today what I'm doing is gonna hopefully turn into a payday in 90 days. And then you'll have other ones that are further down, and that's fine. You know, you're not gonna spend a whole lot of time with them. But you are gonna keep touching them. So you start off with your lead generation, and one of the things that we do is we have scripts. We have powerful scripts. And one thing, if you can, Jade, is I'd like you to start coming to Power Hour in the morning. And that's at 8:45, it's an hour, and essentially we start off with something a little, you know, something motivational, and then script practice. And after a couple of weeks of that, leads that I'm gonna provide, okay? And so those scripts, we're gonna learn, you know, scripts for talking to folks that you know, scripts for talking to for sale by owners, scripts for talking to expireds, and yeah, I mean, when we get to listing presentations, I've got a script for the listing presentation. We've got scripts for buyers consults, and so the purpose of scripts is it's the language of sales, because if you don't have that, it's like, so what are you gonna say? So these are tried and true, they work. Now what's weird about scripts is you're gonna find some of them are really don't feel right. They go, that's not me.
At first.
You practice them, pretty soon they kind of feel like you. You embed them into your mind. We're gonna be building relationships. Some folks, you know, like those ones that were 3 years out, we're gonna nurture them. We're gonna be asking for the business. You cannot get business unless you ask for it. Doesn't work that way. And we're certainly gonna ask for referrals, that's huge, and will always come from contribution. And I think if you put all that together, that's where you can really rise. Some people are really good on the phone, some people not so much. I think if you ever get a chance to watch Ramon Martinez, he's so good on the phone. Ramon came to this town and knew no one. and he's gonna cap next month. And I think he'll be rookie of the year. He just jumped all over phones. You know, some people are, and that's with physicals and mostly for sale by owners. Some people are, you know, really, you know, look to their database. You know, I remember when I was a rookie realtor, I moved here and I knew no one. And then I did cancer for 6 months just for the hell of it. And by then there wasn't a marketplace. And so I became a mailer queen. I just started farming the crap out of my island, and just every quarter out went a mailing, out went a mailing, out went a, and they got me, people were reading them. And I made friends with agents over Punta Gorda. They didn't want to come all the way over. They did referrals. I had friends in Sarasota, referrals. You know, those are just, you know, relationships. And I sat open houses like a fiend for Joe and Sylvia Jenkins. And just every Sunday there I was. And I just really reached out to get to know this community. But I out on the island, I got on the board of directors for PIE, our civic and social group, and at Art in the Palms, our big fundraiser, I'd always set the silent auction tent because everybody came, and I donated. And so, you know, there's a lot of ways you can lead generate. There's a lot of ways that you can, you know, you can get out there and find your way to people. You know, one of the big things is that we're gonna work on and work with is growing your database. So we're gonna be doing something called the Daily 10-4. And that Daily 10-4, I write too big, man. I stick paper like crazy. I usually use the board, but now that I'm being recorded, I can't. So your Daily 10-4. That is for contacts. These are your goals through Ignite. 4 contacts, it's going to be 10 contacts. add 10 people to your database. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. Write 10 notes. That's like a thank you note, a little handwritten note. And do 10 previews. So you need to be able to go into the MLS before you're doing that. So those are what we really want to do, is take your database, and if we can add 50 contacts a week, that's 200 by the end of this course. Open houses, I'm going to have you start shadowing other agents before you actually go do them. And what we'll do at the start of each of our sessions is see what you guys been up to. A preview is going in and looking at a listing on the MLS. You know, and I would do categories, like look at condos or look at gated communities. You know, what about houses in Rotunda? What's the difference between a pool home and not? And you know, and what's the difference in value of something that's on the water and something that's not? And then I'd like you to do 10 of them in person, where you actually go out and look at properties. The purpose of the previews, I want you to get to know your product. And even though your product is service, I want you to get to know the product, what we're selling. The faster that you're familiar with it, the better you'll get more and more comfortable quicker. So you can start off with, say, I probably just do my first thing is go out and start checking out all the new construction. Go up to Boca Raton, go out to Tamiami, and go to Grand Paradiso and Island Walk and Sarasota National and all those other different places up there. Up off of Center, you've got some developments up River Road and Center Street. There's what's that, Grand Palm? They're not done there, are they?
They're still building out.
Okay. So that's something that, you know, so what is a contact? That is somebody you talk to about real estate. That's not somebody that you tried to talk to and leave them a message because they're not home. That can be, you know, you want, as soon as you can, you wanna get a badge. That's something early to order and wear it everywhere. And if you talk to the checker at the grocery store about real estate and end up giving her a card, that's a contact. The better contact though is one that you can put in your database.
Get their info.
Yeah. Because you know, there's quality contacts and then there's other ones. So, you know, one of the, and we're gonna get into some really good places to do that as we get through our next couple of days and under this topic. So, daily, I'm not asking you 6 days a week, 5 days a week would be lovely. So database, you're gonna learn, you know, that's all part of the Scott Leroy marketing stuff. E-Edge is our customer relationship manager where your database is gonna go. And so, you know, you do wanna do a class on E-Edge. You wanna do a class on dot loop. That's where we do all of our paperwork. And, so what the easiest thing to do right now is actually look to people that you already know. So we'll do practice referral scripts in Power Hour tomorrow. And that's people calling folks you know. When you talk to somebody, write a note. You know what, when I get a personal note, it's like really special. That's really, really special. And I think that people just don't write notes anymore. I keep mine. I mean, I keep them in my office. I don't get that many. And when I do, it's like a treasure.
You're right, we text and that's gone when it scrolls.
Sure enough is. And I'm gonna get you a form to do that with. So now we talk about sales language, and so here's some normal stuff. So when you're doing clothes shopping, and you walk into the clothes department, and what happens? Somebody comes up and says,
Can I help you?
"Can I help you?" And what do you say?
No.
Just looking. Mm-hmm. So, but you know what happens is they'll let you look and then doggone it, they come back over, don't they? And they start kind of nosing around. I was easy. I'd go in. I hate shopping.
Ditto.
But I love shopping online because nobody bothers me.
And you can send it back.
And I send it back, exactly. You know, I'm so happy now. But back when I didn't have that, I had a business, and that was how Peter and I were making money hand over fist, spending it equally fast. And I'd go into Nordstrom, and I'd say, I've got an hour. I'm traveling to New Orleans tomorrow.
Can I sit?
Hello.
Hi. Can I sit in your class?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
This is Audrey.
Hi.
Audrey, this is Jada, and this is Blake.
Yeah, I congratulate you a whole bunch of times. We're just gonna sit and be quiet.
And we're recording today. This is my first ever recorded Ignite class. It's okay, the camera's right there. You're cool. Yeah. So I would just go in there and say, okay, I've got an hour and I need this, and this, and this. And I'd say, you gotta push me, I tend to be too conservative, and I said, but I will not wear red. And then, it was great, because then she'd grab stuff and she'd get me in a room and I'd start trying stuff on, and then she'd bring more stuff, and I always got out of there in an hour with everything I needed. It was great. Now, but if it had not been for that, I would never even go shopping. And so your job is to kind of find that language of sales that does work for you. And that's what a script is. So, staying with this thing, scripts are cool.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah. You know, you're gonna find, they are weird at first, they feel like you're wearing somebody else's clothes, and, are they starting to get more comfortable for you?
I gotta keep going, keep going.
Okay, they do. But they help you, you know, make that transition from, they break the ice and get the job done. Now, Diana Kokosko, who I'm gonna talk about a ton, she's the head of MAPS coaching, which is, I'm part of her whole world. And I was watching her in a power hour one morning, and she was talking about working for sale by owners. She just whipped out a script right on the spot, and it wasn't anything in her bold or anything else. She said, she just said, it's really simple. She says, most people will lie to for sale by owners and tell them they have a buyer. She said, nah, don't go there. Just tell them, just say to them this, just say, hey, Mr. Fizbo, I'm Pat Beneman from Keller Williams Realty, and I work with a lot of buyers in your neighborhood. When I have a buyer, would you be willing to work with me in my company? And of course, Mr. Fizbo's gonna say what?
Yes.
Yes.
Of course.
Of course.
How much?
Yeah. And the other question is gonna be, so do you have a buyer? At that point, you go, well, I don't know, I haven't seen your home. Close for an appointment. Boom. Simple script. That's in your scripts. Because, and there's a couple of real important things there. One is you told the truth. Two, you didn't say if I have a buyer, you said when. Now that sounds like something but you also found out whether or not they're gonna pay you. And so, because if they're not gonna pay you, do you wanna even talk anymore with them? You never do anything in this business unless you're gonna get paid, period. So if Mr. Bisbo, yeah, he is a Mr. Bisbo. He goes, no, you go, fine, bye.
I don't say that.
What do?
I tell them, I said, do you realize that 95% of buyers today will be coming with their real estate agent, because 97% of the buyers in today's market are shopping online. And where are they shopping? On real estate website that connects them to real estate agent. So do you really think once they have that trusting relationship established with their agent, that they are gonna leave their agent aside and come and negotiate with you? It's not going to happen. So you're already dealing with a very small marketing right now, being a for sale by owner. I am not like other real estate agent, you see. I'm thinking outside the box. I'm looking for the perfect property for my buyer, whether it's listed in the MLS or not, right? Well, I can guarantee you, my buyers will never want to move forward in real estate without my advice. And most other buyers, same thing. Do you really want to sell your home? And then I be quiet. And it becomes very uncomfortable for Mr. Seller. And then they'll come with something. And I tell them, well, do yourself a favor. Take my name and phone number. And when you are ready to get your home sold, give me a call. I would love to come and take a look at it. And you know what? Usually they give me an appointment right then, because then they realize, wow, there is no buyer that's gonna be, I mean, there are, but they're so very few that it's not gonna happen. And when you end with, when you're ready to sell your home, give me a call. It puts a whole different things in perspective for them. They give you an appointment right then.
That's a mega agent. Listen to Audrey, she knows.
I don't take no. And the only way you cannot stop at no is to live and breathe through scripts, guaranteed. And practicing and practicing and reading and practicing, all of a sudden you're gonna hear something that's like a door that's gonna shut, and it's gonna go out of your mouth. Script is gonna come right out. Action, reaction, they're gonna bring the action of saying something that sounds like no. and your automatic reaction will be your training will come out through your script, and something's gonna come out and you're gonna amaze yourself. I amaze myself all the time and I go, ha, that's pretty good. But guess what? I learned it in bold. The number one thing, if anything, that I learned and tripled and a half my business, and that was already pretty good, is bold. Scripts. And for 4 years, I was against scripts. 4.
How long, you're an agent for how long now?
11.
11?
For 4 years, I was doing pretty good. I wouldn't go to bold because I know bold was script, and I said, you know what? I am the value proposition of my business. Who I am is what people like, and this is why they're gonna decide to work with me. Why should I try to wear somebody else's outfit through a script?
Mm-hmm.
How narrow-minded was I? And I went to bold. And I listened to it. I did bold light. I took about 20% of what bold told me to do. And I did it 3.5 times. I upped my business that year.
Wow.
And I did only 20% of what they told me. And I've taken bold 5 times, and I'm going back the next round, and I will go back every single year it comes. I learn something, and I up my business every time. And every time I'm dealing with a seller and they come out with an objection, it comes out. And I don't even have to think about it. So you gain 1 appointment that you would have not without those scripts. Is in this market $10,000. Isn't it worth it?
Mm-hmm.
One more listing, 3 closed sale, 4 transaction, $30,000. There's your cap.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I like her.
Well, I learned from people like that. I wanted to keep 100% of nothing for a long time. So I got smart. And then I decided that a lesser percentage of something was so much bigger than 100% of nothing. So I did. And it paid itself over and over and over. And it's never over learning.
Mm-hmm.
You never know it all. Sorry, I said I was gonna be quiet.
Yeah.
And bold was what we were talking about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
where you take it to the next level, and thank you for sharing that. You needed to come up front though, so you could have been televised
Yes,
the entire time.
Okay, I did my share of
Yeah, I know, it was good, it was very good.
Thank you.
So, yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna watch a video.
Hi, I'm Jeff Glover, and I'm going to tell you the top 5 things that you need to know about using scripts. Step 1, you're going to need to get your scripts from a top agent at the office, your team leader, a MAPS coach, or of course Keller Williams University.
Or your PC.
Step 2, we're going to need to do a total transformation of instead of talking and telling, of asking questions. Selling isn't telling, selling is asking a series of questions that leads to desired response. So instead of talking so much, we need to get in the habit of asking questions. And asking questions gives us control of the conversation. Control of the conversation gives us our ultimate outcome, which is an appointment set or closing. Step 3, we need to listen with good intentions. Well, what I mean by that is we need to listen to their answers instead of just listening to them talk and asking another question that comes to mind. For example, instead of asking a seller where they're moving to and then going on to the next question, how soon would you like to be there? Ask them, where are you moving to? And when they give you a response, ask them, what takes you there? Step 4 in becoming better at scripts is we need to learn to mimic, mirror, and match the prospect. What I mean by that is we have to listen to their tone of voice. We have to speed up or slow down based on how fast the prospect is talking. That means when they respond and say, we're moving to Toledo, oh, Toledo, that's exciting. What takes you there? 93% of communication is body language and tonality. And that means only 7% are the words that we say or the questions that we ask. Step 5, we need to take these 5 points and practice them daily. If you think of NFL teams, they practice 50, 60 hours on the practice field for a 1-hour game. Our game is our presentations and our appointments, and we need to practice daily everything that we've learned every single day before we meet with our clients. When it comes to scripts, my biggest aha is that everybody has their own scripts. We're pre-programmed to have scripts, and we're talking and asking questions that are scripted. However, what we found is that most of our own scripts are no good. And so we have to learn the right scripts, the right questions to maintain control of the conversation. Thanks for watching KW Connect. Make it a great day.
Okay, so what was your aha on that? Jada?
Oh, I can't really give you an answer. I was thinking, I just watched a video about that same thing on YouTube yesterday.
Yeah?
And I think the questions are good, and I'm trying to think of what the guy told me. Long video. I think I'm gonna have a little bit of trouble getting started. I think it's just a comfort thing.
You know, it's kind of funny, you start doing them, and that's why power hour is so important, because that's where we're gonna script practice like crazy. And you get, and it's funny, and you'll get to the point where, you know, like I had a script just roll out of my mouth. You know, I heard that, I saw that, frankly, I saw it once and I had it, because it was like just such an easy script.
Well, I'll tell you what I think the difficulty will be for me. It's gonna sound stupid probably, but I'm super honest. There's nothing fake about me. And so to me, it
That was
feels.
me before, it's
Yes.
still me today.
And I think that's my biggest fear about that, is like, I'm like, okay, this is telling me what to say, but I'm super genuine, so I think it will be hard for me to, I'll do it, because I'm totally committed, I will do all of it. But at first, I think it'll be a little bit tough for me, but that's just my personality. Like, I mean, I'll tell you anything, I'm just very genuine, so to
I
me.
said that.
So
I
you
said that
understand that
for 4
feeling.
years.
Mhm.
For 4 years, I said that there is no way I can do this. It won't be me. I'm not fake. I am.
Right.
It is, you know, it is what it is. These are just reason you're giving yourself not to get to that level. I promise you. I was so against it, it was not even funny. Until it was mandatory for me to go to bold. And it was the greatest thing. And I said all along, I'm not gonna do it, I'm not gonna do it. I did the script practice with my script partner. Every day we have to call each other and practice scripts and all that. And it never landed me until my seller said something, the script came out, and it was great. How much integrity can you show your seller if you don't get to list their property?
Right.
And the script does not make you lie. It's just one more tool in your pocket that you have to get to represent that seller. Because in a perfect world, that seller needs you, right?
Right, and I need the lingo, and I need to get the tempo, I understand that, yep. I
So-
think just the first few times, I think you'll notice.
Well, as a new agent, I did not come through the Keller Williams system, and I did not have scripts. I didn't have anybody even to help me and do an initial business plan. It was,
Wing it.
It was, yeah, it was sort of like, here's an overview, less robust than Ignite is, and then it's like, okay, you know, here's a contract clause, you're good, bye. And so what I had to do was I had to try stuff, and then I go, oh, that worked, you know, and so now what scripts do is they shorten that. And as you do them, they become part of you. At first, they feel very, very uncomfortable, and you're not the only person that feels that way. It's like, you know, I don't need that. Yeah, you do, because it's just like the rest of what we were talking about, all the models and systems that get you where you want to go faster. That's back to that E to P. And because, you know, if you're going to run into your natural ceiling of how you kind of see through people, and yeah, handling objections when you're out, you know, listing appointments and whatnot. Those are scripts.
If you cannot handle an objection with a seller, how can they trust you to handle an objection with a buyer on their property? And handling an objection is not lying. Handling an objection is to bring value and lead them to think. He said, in order to do what you're supposed to do, ask a lot of questions and listen more than you talk. Because at the end, it's not about you, it's about them, right?
Right.
Ask the question, lead them to think. And if you take a second and you look through your scripts, you're gonna see that the way they are worded, they're worded in a way for you to lead your customers to thinking. This is your job.
Well, actually, they bring in different kinds of folks and how they react. Here's the thing about scripts, is you internalize them, and you do that with practice, and they become your own. Then they stop feeling like somebody else's words.
Well, I have noticed that in other parts of my life where I would talk to somebody about something I know about, even though I've never really vocalized it before. But you say it to someone and you're like, okay, that sounds good, that makes sense,
And you're
that's
helping
my
them.
script. Yes, so, and I would say it again to another person, and it made sense, even though it was stuff that I already knew, I guess I didn't know I knew it until the words came out.
You
And
use
they- and
scripts
they
every
made
day.
sense.
Every
And they
time you
do.
say go big or go home, what do you
They're
think that is?
just,
Right.
they get embedded in your brain.
Right.
And what's the downside if you don't do them? You won't make as much money.
Right.
So practice makes perfect, and you guys are gonna be doing lots of practicing. So, we walk through, there's actually a way of doing this thing. One of the things when we do script practice is we do them, one's an agent, one's the customer, and then back and forth. But then, you read through them actually 3 times, together, out loud. That's actually when you really start learning them. The other part is not being a stick. It's like you stand up, so you have energy, back to energy begets energy, right? And you also smile.
Two best smiles in the office.
And
Jean Presley Whitaker and Pat.
So
And
when
they
you
both
get-
look like they're up to no good.
So we got this whole little process, and I'm kinda running out of time, so we've got some scripts in here, but I'm gonna hand you out the scripts I want you to work on, because they're better than what's in Ignite books. The best scripts are bold scripts, and that's one of the reasons to take bold.
Okay, my husband will do them with me too.
Yep, good. Good.
He's a salesman, so he'll be great for me.
So we've got some scripts that are in here, and I don't know that I would ever use this script number 1 when you're new to real estate. That I have another one I like better. So we're gonna work really hard on those starting tomorrow. I've got a handful of them.
I mean, they must go off they're not all verbatim, right? I mean, people will go slightly off to what fits the,
After a while,
yeah.
you own them. What you do is you keep the concept of them. Your words will change. But you've got, you know what the meat is that you wanna go after. It's Audrey, and we did some role playing at a training here a few weeks ago, and she handled objections, and I just fired them at her. And it was really fun, and it was really natural. It's like I have my whole storyline, and I just stayed with it, and what you do is you learn how to use it. Let's say you're with Mr. and Mrs. Seller, and you're meeting with them, and you ask them, where are they moving? You got all the who, what, where, why, how questions, and they go, well, I'm moving to Chicago, and at that point, you say, why Chicago? And they say, well, our daughter, our only child, is having her first baby, and we wanna be there to help them because her and her husband both work. And so, what's your natural next question gonna be? When's the baby due? And so you use that, but then so now you know the baby's due in October, that means you need to get the pedal to the metal. They don't have a whole lot of time, so later on, when you're talking about price and they wanna overprice that house, you can say, you know, Mrs. Seller, I thought you said you needed to be in Chicago by October. I said, if we listed at that price, you're gonna miss the birth of that child.
How's that gonna feel?
How's that gonna feel?
How's that gonna feel? And be quiet, let them feel the pain.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna revise for real.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's stuff that
Yeah.
they don't think about, and you're just helping them to realize the point
Right.
of where they're going.
So much of the time you're working pleasure and pain with people, you know, you're you're for sale by owners, you're walking through their house and you ask, so, you know, how many calls have you gotten on the house? And they go, oh, we had 3. And you say, well, how many of them were from realtors? And they go, all of them. And so, you know, so you're trying to feel, and when you get into bold, there's a problem presentation script that you actually do with them, and you work through, and you dig out all that pain, and then you find a way to give them pleasure by dealing with the pain of paying you a commission, because the pain of selling that house has gotten bigger than the pleasure of not paying you. So it's a tipping point. So, we're good for today. Thank you, my dear.
That's it?
Well, we're out of time.
2 hours over.
Yeah. Be sure you get your calendar. One of the things, that we're gonna spend more time on is time blocking your schedule. And, you know, putting time into your schedule for lead generation. And having times that are sacrosanct, like Friday mornings at 9:30 for your coaching with me. That's not an appointment you don't wanna show up for.
Lead generation, every day.
And you want, and everyday lead generation. And, you know, if you're sitting in open house, you're lead generating, so that's part of what you're gonna be doing. We're gonna talk about working with your database, and one of the first things I want you doing is organizing, a list, maybe in a spreadsheet of everybody you know right now, which we've talked about. And, you know, names, phone numbers, emails, whatever you got for them. And because we're gonna start feeding that into our EH database program, so you can start doing campaigns and touching people. Your big thing with folks you know, is everybody, we all know like 5 or 10 or 12 realtors, you know, and people can kind of keep 1 or 2 at top of mind at any given time. You wanna be top of mind, and to be there, you're gonna need to touch them. So we're gonna get into that tomorrow of just how important that database is. And then the day after that, we're gonna talk about prospecting. Where in the world do you find people to stick in there? Okay? Who to talk to. So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
My cappers in training. Thank you, my
Yay.
dear.
Thank you for having me. It's always good to go back to basic.
How many times have you done Ignite?
I've never done Ignite, I taught it,
Ditto.
but Ignite did not exist. When I started, there was no team leader, there was a non-existing broker, there was no productivity coach, I was born an orphan into Keller Williams. Thank
Yeah,
God
but
we had classes and things like that.
Right.
Are we still recording? You can shut that off.
Oh.
Thank God, thank God, I'm sure the regional would not be happy to hear that. Thank God there were